Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
Welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate information, never watered down, always served straight up. Today I'm in the studio with Marshall Tucker, Alicia Hooper, and the new guy, James Mendez.
Yes. How's it going?
That's clapping.
Thanks for having me on. I need some good sound effects for that, like the whole party clapping and
All right,
fireworks.
We'll work on our sound effects then. So, all right, we'll work on all our sound effects. Let's just stop the sound effects real quick. But what are we talking about today, folks?
Our latest topic.
Which is
new guy, so profound.
I mean, you have to be on top of everything and tell people what exactly they're talking about, because our fearless leader forgot. Oh, you had one job. Open houses? Selling properties?
What about him?
I thought that's what we were talking about.
I'm just here to confuse everybody. Everybody's looking at me like I dropped the ball. I know exactly what we're talking about.
Wait, is this the right podcast?
Well, yeah, right.
We had a fantastic open house.
It's actually the next title company office.
Right. The podcast next door actually has listeners. Everybody's already tuned out on this one. All right, well, let's get to it. A lot of talk, being the new year, has been about business so far, how to get business, lead generation, lead follow-up, all the good things. Today, let's talk a little bit more about, let's dive deep, which we said we would do on one of the past shows, is dive deep on open houses. Let's get to it, open houses, that's where it's at. People have to understand those are the folks that are ready to buy within 0 to 90 days. Mm-hmm. Searches, people put in a search and they say homes for sale in Austin, Texas. Those folks are 13 to 18 months out. Nothing coming in the pipeline for you there, right? When they dial it down to homes for sale in Balcones, now we know that they've dialed it down to a specific area. Mm-hmm. So we know that they're 6 months to 13 months away, right? And so now we can even say, once that person's in a car going from open house to open house, that person is ready to buy. So if you have folks stopping by your open house, that's your low-hanging fruit we always talk about. That's the gold, right? Mm-hmm. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about, how to do a productive open house. What are some tips, tricks, and little bonuses we have for you to get traffic to your open house? Marshall.
That's me.
We've talked to you a few times about open houses. When I say open houses, like who's doing open house this weekend around the office, I see your shoulders drop. Like, oh my God, I have to do an open house.
I am the opposite. I love them.
Do you?
I do. I really do. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of setup to go into it, so you probably see my shoulders come down because I know I'm going to be there the whole weekend. So.
And I'm only going to get 7 clients.
Someone's going to go to drill, and you doing both open houses that have to be done?
Hey, some of us have commitments.
James, the new guy, he is an Army guy, and so every other weekend, or once a month, right? Mm-hmm. Is it once a month you have to do drill? So we certainly understand that, and we appreciate your service.
Yes, thank you, new guy.
Thank you.
Thank you, new guy.
Thank you.
So back to the open houses real quick. So let's just break it down real quick. So it's Monday. What do you do? What do you do to prepare for your open house that you're more than likely going to have on Saturday or Sunday, the upcoming weekend?
You need to start thinking about where you're going to have it and at least have it pinpointed by Tuesday.
Okay, let's identify that real quick. How do you choose what open house to do?
It's got to be a fresh property. I don't want a stale property when it's been on the market for a while. So, preferably one that hasn't been listed yet, and so we can build anticipation all week and then open the doors up on Saturday and have that massive amount of people there to create urgency.
Okay, and so how do you create that anticipation? Remember, we're on Monday.
Oh yeah, so we're still on Monday. So finding the open house, and then you got to start taking videos, marketing it, syndicate it.
Let's back up real quick. Finding the open house. Remember, I mean, our podcast, what we're here to do is really help those new agents along that might not know these things.
A new agent, I would start making buddies with other agents who have listings in the office and asking them if you can hold their home open. And if you can't find anyone in the office, branch out. You can hold other brokerage homes open as well.
Right. Smart.
And you just take it to the MLS, and based on your search criteria, you're saying like you want to narrow it down to the specific area that you want to focus on, right? So I live in Leander. In Texas. I want to focus on Leander Cedar Park. So I know that's my first criteria that I want to find an open house. I do start with Keller Williams listings because that's where I am. If I can't find one within my brokerage, then I do branch out. And I have a little bit more criteria on my open house on what I want to hold. And of course, that's specific to every agent. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We usually have enough listings where I don't normally branch outside of our team. So it kind of goes to which of our listings need an open house the soonest.
And by we, you mean Keller Williams United Group, Austin, Texas.
United Group.
United.
Thanks for the plug over there.
Yeah, you bet.
Not a United person.
Got carried away.
Must want to do our open houses or something.
It was in the moment.
I got all caught up. All right. So I'll add on to that real quick. So Monday's the day that you start looking around for your open house. Of course, let's back it up. So we first have our lead generation, our lead follow-up, our maybe scheduling some appointments or whatever else, and then we can start looking into the open house. I think the sooner the better on the open house. Obviously, you want, once again, I use this analogy a lot, the low-hanging fruit. A lot of times the low-hanging fruit are the homes that sell rather quickly. So establishing relationships with the top listing agents in the office that have this inventory coming in or might be releasing a property on that Thursday, getting ready for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then taking offers by Monday, you really want to stand out in front of those agents and show them you're willing to work even the crappiest open house to get to the great open houses. Not a lot of new agents get to walk right in the door and get the cream of the crop of the listings that sell that are going to have the heavy traffic. We had an open house this weekend, brought in
25 the first day and about 15 to 20 the second day.
Right.
That's awesome.
And with showings before and after open houses, it equaled with registered groups coming through and showings, we were at 55.
That's amazing.
And that's traffic from just Saturday to Sunday. And that's not including
We
on
even
Friday.
had some after-hour showings.
Yeah, we couldn't get out of the open house. I just stopped by just to see what Marshall was up to and just shoot the shit with him.
Talk about later than that.
Oh, yeah.
12 o'clock at night.
Our listing got broken into that night. Don't really want to talk much about that, but apparently some high school kids just decided to set up shop in there and party. Unfortunately for them, they got caught. So now they caught a case for partying in a vacant house. Thankfully, they didn't destroy anything. Thankfully, they didn't do much to it. However, I think that the
My first question was, are they pre-qualified?
Yeah. Right. Okay, so back to it. So now we've got the perfect open house. We know that we have 123 Main Street. It's more than likely it's in a neighborhood that sells quickly. Average homes on the market over there is less than 15 days of active days on the market. So I'm going to do this open house, and now what am I going to do?
Go ahead.
For what I was struggling with, especially like when I first was starting and understanding open houses and like where to go, which ones to do, was they were like, oh, just jump on the MLS and pick a house. Like, okay, that's thousands, well, potentially where you're at.
Throw a dart.
But what's worth doing? What one can I actually, reasonably do? Which ones have short-term expectations for short-term on the market? And how to find it. That's one of the things I struggled with. And like how to filter that in through the MLS. How did you guys, when you're going after open houses, kind of focus on that, or did you just find a specific zip code that had
really at first? Yeah,
turnover,
I would just ask the agents. Because I kind of cut my teeth on listings. I'm sorry, wish I did leases, and then doing open houses trying to get clients. But how I would do it was just ask the agents, like, so where are the hot homes?
Yeah.
And another thing that I did too was I approached a lot of builders. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of people beating the builders' doors down to do open houses on their existing inventory. And then they would let me. So I would get to sit in a brand new house. You know,
So you set the trend?
Wi-Fi. What's that?
You set the trend? Way
I
to
set
go.
the trend. Yeah, you didn't
Good
know
job,
that?
Snow. No.
Yeah, all for Austin, Texas.
Love
I
it.
started going to builders first.
Totally makes
Yeah.
sense.
I built
Yeah.
the first home ever in Austin, Texas, too.
It's still there.
It's still there. Yeah. This is it. Oh, how stupid. Anyway, so, you know, I started going to builders. I set the trend for myself.
Yeah.
At least that. You know,
For sure.
I started going to the builders and asking them and begging them and doing the thing. And I would have to put out, you know, show them that I was putting an effort. I couldn't just show up with like 1 or 2 signs and put it out. You know, I was doing the full on, you know, 15, 20 signs and doing balloons and driving around like a dork, you know, worried about who's taking pictures of me and putting me on social media of this big goofy guy walking through the intersection with 30 balloons in his hands, you know, just looking like a clown.
Right.
Hey,
bozo.
But I was showing the builders that I was mindful for that. And after a while, the builders were saying, hey, dude, we've some open houses if you ever want to do it for us. You know, I started to kind of develop that whole, like, you know, come over here, please do it. And then for D.R. Horton, which is one of America's homes builders, they have a lot of inventory existing. And so I was getting to bounce to neighborhood, and then I started selling some D.R. Horton homes.
That's awesome.
And it was a good time to where there was actually 6% commissions on everything.
Right.
So, you know, how do you double your commission? Go do a D.R. Horton, a new build.
There you go.
In the off season. You know, that was pretty cool. However, I would ask around the office typically to find out what the hottest neighborhoods were. And then I would start just going through, and there's a part in the MLS where you can scroll down to and you can look at listings by broker, by your office.
Right.
So even if you have a broker that has multiple offices, you can look at your office. And I would look at that, and I would look at everything just listed. And then I would walk around to who I knew, who I identified as the top agents, and I would ask each one of them, hey, like, do you have an open house? I would love to work it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times those top agents were top agents for a reason. And they would say, I'm going to do my own open house this time, or I'm going to do my own on Saturday. You can do your one on Sunday if you'd like.
Right.
Not a problem. Even if I had plans on Sunday, I would cancel my plans to do that open house.
Right.
Because, you know, I mean, my first year in real estate, I made $5,000. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I needed to work, you know.
Right.
So.
I got paid $100 one time to do that open house.
Oh, hey.
When I was new.
Nice. Bala.
Annie?
I did that. That's what.
Oh, yeah.
That is a horrible, and like, it's a weird feeling to know that, like, yeah, it's cool that somebody paid you to do an open house because they're kind of contributing to the loss of money because you're spending time and gas and going out there. But if you really look at it, that's somebody saying your time, your entire day or majority of your day is worth $100.
Well, the wealthy people can leverage their time out because they can't make more time.
2 to 4, $50. I mean, if you did 2 to 4, you're working $50 an hour. Why not? But and consider yourself like a Uber agent.
Yeah, but you didn't actually do
know?
that.
Yeah, but it's not 2 to 4.
Hey, you could have had an open house with nobody that came and made zero.
I know, but if you look at, I'm saying, like, look at what you're actually doing. Yeah, of course, you can't create time. The wealthy buy time by leveraging people. So on that end, it's great. But if you're actually looking at it, you spent your entire morning and afternoon, and you may have hopefully got a couple leads, but your entire majority of your day is literally worth $100.
I do it for free every day.
Yeah, I know, but it's still it's a difficult realization that you can grow from.
Yep.
Because eventually, a lot of your time will be significantly more valuable to leverage. But that
Uber
$100
agents.
was like,
Yeah, you want to get to the point where you're doing what you need to do during the week so you can take the weekends off, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can leverage others.
And so I would say at this point in time in everybody's career, I think that as long as you're an active agent and you're relying on that, you know, and you need to be doing open houses no matter what.
I will always do open houses. I love them.
I leverage, my team does open houses. I'm not necessarily the one doing them. However, if it's requested by one of my sellers that I do the open house, I'll be there with bells on.
Oh, for sure.
You know, typically I like the buyer's agents to do that because they're the ones working with buyers. So it's very beneficial for them to go sit in the open house. This past week, I mean, I can't tell you, Marshall called me really like, this is how my open house needs to be done. And I'm like, I agree 100%, you know, because we have some open houses that they don't get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we could put 10,000 signs up, you know, that's an exaggeration, 9,000 signs up. And And they wouldn't get the traffic because they're in a rural area. They're not for everybody.
Right.
They don't have the best schools. They're not bringing a lot of the families with kids in because of the schools or whatever else, and not a lot of traffic for that stuff. And we live in Austin, Texas, to where it's heavily populated in the city, but outside the city limits, we've got bigger property. We've got some ranch properties, things like that. We typically don't do open houses on those.
Nope.
However, Marshall knows what he's doing, so walk us through a little bit more of your preparation for. We don't really go the mega open house route.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing I do after, I guess, picking the open house out is I start working on the back end stuff of it. So we have a program called List Reports, and you put the address in List Reports, and it's going to tell you about all the demographics in the area, what's nearby, and basically it makes a really nice open house flyer. And that takes a little bit, of work for it to get going. So I like to set that up first, so when I come back to it later to print my flyers out, it's ready to go. Then I start setting up Spacio, which is another app that I use. We have an iPad with a stand that we keep into the open house, and that's how our guests sign in. And you set up Spacio, and you put the picture in there, you put the questions that you wanted to ask, and then after they sign in, it uploads into your CRM. So I go ahead and start setting all that stuff up, make sure I have all my flyers printed up. And
what's a CRM?
Customer relation management software.
Close.
Did I get that right? Anyway, it's what we use to keep track of all our conversations, all the important information about our clients, and what's happened and such. So, so that way I can follow up with them on that. So after I collect all those emails later on, I can send them postcards or let them know about price reductions.
Okay, you kind of skipped over the whole thing. So let's get back to all right. We've decided now we've targeted the open house. Now we're going to do some marketing to get the word out. What typically do you do for that marketing?
Video for sure. You want to do a small video. And then put
you do a video in front of the
Facebook.
property. You do a video just kind of in your office.
It just depends. I mean, if it's a great day, it's a beautiful day, we're out and about, then sure, we take the camera with us and we'll go out on site and just kind of do a quick recording in front of it. Now, if there's a time issue or such like that, we have the green screen, so I can just put a picture up on the green screen, get in front of the house, and still do a video.
Right on. Okay. And do you make sure that you requested the agent that if you're not doing one of our open houses and don't have control over the syndication of the open house, you put in a request to that agent to syndicate that through ZTR, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin.
Absolutely, because that's going to be half of your visitors right there, the ones that don't find you through the signs in the yard. So
for sure,
you want to be syndicated, and I think you can get syndicated relatively, at least by Thursday, Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, so. For sure. Most people think that it takes like 24 hours to syndicate. It actually takes about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
They just want a little time for the agents and everybody to get and see that and to tell their agents, and that way they schedule the open house.
Right. Okay. And so
then I want to make sure I go out to the property and I put another sign out at the property that says open Saturday or open Sunday with the times on there, and then start, that way when people are driving by, they see it, they understand, and then they come back on the weekend.
Kind of like neighbors and friends and family in the neighborhood can drive by, see it, tell their friends, give them an opportunity to pick their own neighbors.
That way they don't just call their agent or call the sign. You have a chance at least to meet them at the open house.
Okay. Alicia, pick up there where you left off. Kind of now it's the day of.
It's the day of. So you're waking up early to set out all your signs. At minimum, you want to do 10.
Like early, like 5 o'clock in the morning?
I mean, if that's what floats your boat, man. I mean, I like to have my signs up before lunch because with all the traffic for people leaving for lunch, etc. So my signs are up by noon at the latest. And like I said, at minimum 10, ideally is 20. And you just want to get them on all major roadways.
All major corners, and then I breadcrumb it back.
That's
Let me interject right there. 10 signs is some people we were doing so many open houses that I had so many listings that I was bringing agents all over the market center to help us out with open houses. But we had a stipulation that I would drive by on the weekend and just see how efficiently everything was running.
Sure.
I would go and there would be no signs out really on anything. There'd be like the sign in front of the house or the sign at the top of the street. And if there's no traffic going by, how would you ever lead people to that street? And then they would complain about the traffic. Like it was a waste of 2 hours of my time.
Yeah,
for
sure.
like, well, 2 hours. Signs. signs. So I started researching a little bit more kind of about signs, and NAR, National Association of Realtors, really says for every sign, expect one group. So if you have 10 signs out, expect 10 groups. You know, I think that's not the rule, but it seems a little high.
It's a good guideline.
It's a great guideline, and it's definitely a guideline that you would want to put a new agent's head into.
For sure.
You know, and when we're kind of explaining this, the more, if you increase your effort, you'll hit your goals.
Absolutely.
If your goal is to get 10 people through, 10 groups through, that's a lot of people in an open house. You know, that's an oddity that Marshall did one and 25 people rolled through. You know, I mean, we'll earn multiple offer on that property. It's a hot property. It's a single level 5-bedroom with a pool.
That's a bummer because I wanted to do it again next week.
Well, that's the cool thing is that we can.
Yes.
Even under contract, that's another thing too. I was going to talk about that, but even when a house is pending, you can do one.
Yes.
You can do open houses because we're always looking for that backup. Until that property's closed, it's our seller's house. We can do the open houses accordingly.
Yep.
So anyway, back to you. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. And going back to the signs, I mean, you have no idea who's watching you. You don't know what other sellers are interested in selling who haven't had a conversation with somebody. And when they see the effort that you're putting into this open house, oh, wow, is she going to do that for me?
You're selling yourself to the neighbors.
That's right.
I've heard 3 agents say that they got a deal or they got a client. I don't know if they finished or closed the client, but 3 different people said that they got business because they saw that someone saw them out there early in the morning
Hustling.
putting out signs for their open house.
Absolutely.
And I would say,
Well, now you know 4.
especially new, especially a new agent, I would say maybe 1 or 2 per 10 signs. I've put out a ton of signs, and it's been slow because I'm not doing it as efficient as I should be. In the right. Early on for the property, I've taken some that had been on the market for a little while just to get the experience, and sometimes I'll get very few people, and I'll go out there and put a fair amount of signs out, and so learning, where on the streets to get people's attention. Make sure you have balloons, which I didn't do all the time.
Yeah,
pieces like that.
Well, a trick for the balloons: get pinwheels, because balloons
Someone
are very
else said that.
tedious.
Yeah.
And pinwheels do just
I do
just as
American
great.
flags. I do American flags.
I love that
Texas
too. Yep.
You go by the dollar store. The dollar store has all this stuff.
Absolutely.
So,
That's right.
that's what I like about these conversations is they kind of trail into other little things. But
Yep. Yes,
you've
pinwheels.
never done the pinwheels?
No, I like
It's genius,
that,
right?
Really?
That came from my mother. Thank
I
you,
always
Mom.
do balloons, but pinwheels.
I think I'm gonna raid the dollar store this month and stock.
Yeah,
up
the
on
dollar
some
store
stuff.
has
Dollar Tree.
tons of
Yep.
that stuff.
Go Dollar
I
Tree.
mean, and the American flags are always cool. And I usually put, sometimes if they have the Texas Ann, I'll put one on each side. And if the wind's blowing, it just kind of adds a little bit more. So in Austin, Texas, it's a hot market, right? So there's certain neighborhoods that will have 10 listings in it. And if you have 5 agents to 10 agents doing open houses and everybody has their sign on the same corner, how are you going to stand out? So typically,
I cover their signs.
I think it's important to stand out, but it's also important to collaborate. So if you know that you're in a neighborhood where there's 4 other agents doing open houses, reach out to those agents and say, hey, why don't we work together and create some kind of system? Like when somebody leaves your house, send them to mine, and you can do like a punch card. Y'all can have a prize for everybody who goes to like the 5 different houses or whatever. We're all in this together.
that's
That
a
would
great
be fun.
idea.
a little tour.
Or have each other's
That's
flyers.
way overthinking it.
Oh,
No, I don't think that in depth on open houses. And that's genius. I'm
No,
saying
that's
overthinking
awesome.
it. Like you sat there and thought that through because I haven't. We've done that before. We've
Hot
collaborated
sheets and such,
with other agents to say that. But like that's pretty cool to say, hey, let's go to all. If you go to all 5 open houses, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer,
Right.
You get to go here. And
can raffle
it's
a
luck of
prize
the
off.
draw on the agents, right?
That's right.
Like who they choose.
that's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to touch on something that you had talked about was people see you out early doing
Yes.
signs and whatever else. So that goes to the whole day. I want everybody to know that you're interviewing for a job when you're doing an open house. Okay, the stats show that more than likely you're not going to sell that house.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So you're there to meet new people.
Right.
You're there to talk to people. You're not there to bug people. You're not there to follow them around the house. You're not there to helicopter over them or anything else. You're there to just kind of answer questions and help them solve any problems they might have with trying to get in the neighborhood and answer things. So know about the neighborhood also.
Absolutely.
Read up on it a little bit. Read the description of the house that you're holding open because it's more than likely that listing agent did a good job of writing good solid copy in there that's bringing those people over in the first place and building a story just around the pictures that are on the MLS, right? And read about the other listings over there. Print out every single listing that's in the neighborhood, that's in the same square footage, the same price range, and have all those there, because if that house doesn't work for them, the stats show that it's not going to. You have everything else, and say, hey, look, at 401, as soon as my open house is done, I can meet you over at 124 Main Street and show you that one.
That's right.
Or chances are they already went to that open house and they're coming to your open house, and it's beneficial that you know what that other house doesn't have.
That's right.
Correctamundo. And then the whole thing about when people come over, I always get this when I call an agent that's held one of our homes open and say, hey, how'd it go? Oh, nothing but neighbors came in.
Okay, let me touch on that.
Bummed with that. And that's one of my biggest things. Go right ahead. Let's see if we're on the same page.
So what I was going to say is, when you're hosting somebody else's listing for an open house, provide a report. It's unbranded. It's going directly to the agent that they can in turn send to the seller. So and my report breaks it down from neighbors, looky-loos, agents, serious buyers, and hot leads. That's how mine is broken down. So they know exactly how many came through, what type came through, and the feedback that they gave on the home. And you will have people knocking on your phone or door, whatever, to host an open house.
Blowing up your phone.
Seriously, yeah.
I think you meant blowing up.
I can't tell you the last time I reached out for an open house. Like, I have agents reach out to me.
Yeah, right on.
Yep.
Close to... good point. Not the same page. Like I was
should put neighbors and looky-loos in the same box.
I know.
No.
Well, because you said you reached out to the agent and said who came through. You shouldn't have to do that. Is what I'm saying.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we typically reach out if they don't reach out to us, we reach out to them. But what I was getting at really was when agents are bummed that it was only neighbors that came and looked.
Yep.
Right there. Don't act so bummed. The neighbors are the best. When I start.
That's
Whenever I do
sale.
an open house, the first thing out of my mouth, besides this, is I don't shake their hands. I hand them a pen. People have a problem with getting people to sign in. They're very scared. If we're not using the Spacio and you only have something like a sign-in book or a sign-in sheet, hand them a pen. Don't shake their hand. Hand them a pen and say, hey, the seller's requested all viewers of the property, everybody coming to the open house, sign in. And so the seller's requested, you've taken the responsibility off you. You're no longer the bad guy. You've asked them for information, right? And in return, you're going to give them something. As soon as they sign in, you have something in their hand. Now they want that. What that is a detailed sheet on the property, a detail sheet on the property. You hand that over. Now they've given you something, you've given them. Let them be. Go ahead, take a look around the house. I'll be right here. Let me know if you have any questions. Let them go about their business, right? However, with the neighbors, finally get to the point that I was making. With the neighbors you're viewing for a job, more than likely sometime within 5 to 7 years, like the stats show, they're going to sell their house. What are you doing to stand out? Did you greet them with a smile when they walked in?
Or if it's a hot enough house, they want to sell theirs and buy that one.
Right. Did you act bummed out when they're like, oh, we live next door? Did you go, oh, we'll take a look
fantastic.
around.
Is it the same layout? I mean,
exactly.
Does it look like this
Ask
one?
them questions. That's something.
Why
in
are
your
you
script.
considering moving out of the neighborhood into the same neighborhood? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, this home is updated. Are you looking to do the same thing to your home to bring it up to this value? Or
right.
there's so many conversations that
Most
you
are
can
looking
have
to
with
upsize
neighbors.
or downsize.
Yeah.
There's some people that are looky-loos, but however, there's always something to it. And then what are you doing even with the looky-loos? Who's to say that the looky-loos not going to move somewhere down the road?
That's right.
The other thing that I was going to bring up that I say when they first walk in is like, so what home is yours in the neighborhood? Well, I don't live in the neighborhood. Perfect. Now we've just established they don't live in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Where do you live? Do you need to sell your home before you buy this one?
Or
and just be assumptive that they're going to buy this home.
Did you find me from the signs in the neighborhood, or did your agent send you here?
Really, what you're doing there is just building rapport. And the faster you can make somebody laugh, the faster you can build a relationship with them and get down to the business of what problems can I help this person solve.
That's right.
So that's where we're at on that. So go ahead.
Speaking of making them laugh, tell a story about the gentleman that came in at the open house. That had me cracking up. Just a quick,
he came in and I said, would you please sign in for the seller? And so he went over there and started tapping away at the iPad, and I'm standing there next to him, seeing what he's doing, and I can kind of see what he's doing. It's like, that doesn't really look right. So he walks off, and I go and I check it, and he put name at nowhere.com or something like that. So I was like, okay, am I going to bust his chops now? So I just followed him around for a little bit, and he was standing there, and then he asked me a question. He said, are the sellers, did they move on or whatever? I was like, yeah, they're long gone. And there was a long, awkward silence. And I looked at him. I was like, they're still alive. They just moved. He started laughing. I started laughing. And by the time he left, he had taken my business card. He opened up to me.
And you changed numbers and went out for a date?
We talked for a little bit more. Yeah, we're still dating. But
he's a really great dancer.
He's going to buy a house.
Take him for tacos. You'll win over with tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we had some. It was amazing, the tacos today. Some
Really?
of us had tacos.
Pastor.
Yeah, y'all didn't invite me. We're not going to talk about that right now.
Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
We thought you would be there.
Well,
We pulled up. I even parked in one of your spots you parked in before. And he's like, I don't think this is a spot. I was
gonna
like,
be
I've
here
seen
any
Alicia
second.
park here before. I know it's a spot. But she has a Jeep, so she can park anywhere she wants.
that's
really.
right.
She's too busy having wraps on Taco Tuesday.
I know. But
So you've got traffic coming in. You're reaping the rewards of everybody coming in. Now you've got Spacio. You use an app. There's a few different apps out there. Everybody can Google the apps. We can post them in the link below the show. A few apps out there for Spacio, and then a couple other recommendations we'll put up there for you.
You can Google what I did or what I've done up until recently is Google open house sign-in sheets, and they have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And you can use them.
Yeah, that's what I used to do.
Well, list
Yeah.
reports will make you one too, and it'll make it exactly like your open house flyers.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not everybody has access to list reports, so
Yeah.
this guy's spoiled over here. He's bringing us all these high-powered tools.
Everybody
that
has
he
access to
Hey,
list
you need
reports.
freemium.
It's free.
Free.
Yeah,
When
list
you're
reports
starting
is
out.
free.
100% free is where you go. And some of them wouldn't let me download or was trying to go around about trying to print those things off and wouldn't let me. So I just opened it up on my phone, screenshot, sent it to the printer, and that was good.
Yep.
Yeah, free 99 is where it's at. And
right.
most of these
100%.
apps that we're going to ever mention to you, we know that, once again, we'll bring up that most of our listeners are just getting into the business or have been returning to the business and getting started. And it seems like everybody in the real estate business, on the other side of being an agent, has their hand out and really wants us to pay for all these tools out there. Everything's pretty much free.
Right.
From CRMs
Even
to
Spacio, you get 7 days free, so you can check
you
it
get
out.
7 days. So every 7 days, just do a thing and then
New
cancel
email.
it. Don't forget to cancel
New
it.
email address.
Well, Spacio, without the sign-in part, some of the basic functionings of that app are free because I have it. I downloaded it.
Okay, cool. But you can just go with the
there's
bare
some other
bones
ones. Yeah.
and throw out a piece of paper. And then what I usually do was I would always write in kind of like, Fred Flintstone at, bedrock.net and make it look like other people have come in and actually wrote legibly on my sign-in sheet. Because if it was just chicken scratch, people would follow suit and just put
Chicken scratch it.
chicken scratch.
I find
if
it's
I made it
also
very
helpful
clear.
to highlight the name and the phone number and the email, and then they kind of just gravitate right to that.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's all these little trips. I think the one for us dinosaurs that do open houses that still use pens and don't use these little high powered apps.
What is it?
Handing them,
What is a
handing them the pen worked for me.
Yeah.
9.9 times out of 10. Sometimes I had one gentleman one time say, handed him the pen and he dropped it right in front of me and said, I'm not signing in. I don't want your spam. And that really actually offended me. And I said, I don't have time to spam you, much less know how to spam you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And I go, the seller has asked everybody to sign in. They live in the house. They have kids. If you don't sign in and provide your name, you've got to go. Mm-hmm. And he sat there and berated me, and then he left. 5 minutes later, he came driving back up, and he wanted to see the house. He signed in with a ton of attitude. I smiled and said, if you have any other questions, I'll be right here. And he went and toured the house and whatever else. And still to this day, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're BFFs, but I still know the guy. I answered some questions
Hey,
for
sir,
him.
at this
I
point,
don't think
I
he
need a
ended up ever
license.
buying a house in that neighborhood. And if he bought somewhere else, it'd be news to me. But, I think I gained his respect a little bit by not just being a pushover.
Sure.
And he gained my respect by not being such an egomaniac that he couldn't come back and just look at the open house by
Right.
providing his name and email. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Like,
Right,
sir, I need a
exactly.
driver's license now. At this
Yeah,
point.
Yeah.
can I get a phone print over here?
Yeah.
A blood sample, please. So,
I think there's a lot of hesitation because so as much as I like the control and have the military background and how I am at the open houses, I was very worried about pushing people away and them me making a mistake or kind of forcing or pushing the issue on signing in because I know how people are with spam and stuff like that, and to not push the point too much because I've had people who were pretty resistant to it. I had one person who came in and they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna be in real quick." And they almost They almost sprinted or like fast walked through the entire house and then left.
Good, they went for you.
I was like, what on earth are you people doing?
In this business, James, we're not going to work with everybody,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things too that I've noticed with the new agents coming in the door is that they project their feelings on the situation.
Yeah.
Is that they think that because they don't like people knocking on their door, or they don't like signing into open houses, or they feel uncomfortable, that everybody feels that
Right.
way. People know that there's a price to play the game. If the price to play the game is to see the house is to sign in, 9 times out of 10 people are going to sign in. I think
right.
even greater than that.
Yep.
Almost 10 times out of 10 you'll have some people that don't want to sometimes because they're so, sorry. You just explain to them that the seller's asked this. You try to relieve them that it's not me, it's the seller. If it's a vacant house, that's hard to do. However, you still want to know. We have to know everybody coming through the house, and especially our female friends that are agents. A lot of times it's a safety issue.
That's right.
That's something I never took into account, being that I'm just big strapping.
You're still waiting. Finding out people when they don't sign in.
I like how you went slow-mo with that.
Right,
That was good.
yeah.
Ask their name, where they're from, and what do they do for work. And then you'll pull them up on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And so a lot of times if we just had their phone number, we could find out who they were. But
What's your name? Where you from? Where you work?
What's your
All
name
right, I
is?
got you.
right, we got you. I know you live. You're going to buy now.
You ain't got a choice.
You're getting the postcard. You're getting the postcard.
Closing on the 8th. Be there. Here's the address. Don't wire funds until you're told. All right, fun stuff. So what can we add here? Well, some closing tips here for open houses.
After the open house.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow up.
What do y'all do after the open house?
Follow up is very important. I mean,
So it's Monday. 7 days have passed. I'm sorry. From 7 days from Monday, you started looking for your open houses.
Yep.
Now your lead generation. Now you can push those people Monday into your lead follow up, right? Mm-hmm. And so you start touching base with everybody. What do you do, Marshall? I know that you have got a specific plan because I know the guy that taught you that specific plan.
oh,
What a badass he is.
Marshall Tucker.
snow.
Adding them into the CRM, which we've discussed before, adding them into that, and then just putting them on a follow-up plan, which is giving them a call, ask them what they thought, ask them what they thought of the open house. Are you going to put an offer in? And then from there, why not?
Yeah. What didn't you like about the house? That's
Where
a
can we
great
take you
question.
after that? And just start following up on that in the process. Are you working with an agent? You just basically have to qualify them all over again.
Right. And then one thing that we always like to do also, it's a nice little touch, is the handwritten card. So we do if we can find them, and a lot of times, if they own a house in the neighborhood, if they own a house in town, and they gave us their real name and provide us a real phone number, 9 times out of 10, we can look in the tax records and more than likely find the residence they're at. We send them a card. If it's not them, the card kicks back to us.
We've got a lot of business
deal.
that way too.
Yeah, it's 50 cents for a thing, but we tell you our hit rates on sending out handwritten notes to people after open houses, after listing appointments, after initial meetings or buyers consultations, it goes up.
Yep.
Tenfold because people just like that personal touch.
I agree.
Especially everybody that's really kind of, anybody likes it, but it seems to be like the folks that are a little bit past the millennials really appreciate that because that's how business was 20 years ago. Maybe their folks did business like that. So
Jim said he got like 20, 30 phone calls from agents, but he went with the one that sent him a letter.
and that was Marshall.
And then he sold his house, bought a house, and then bought another house.
Way to go, Marshall.
We got a little bit
And a
of
lease in there.
right under $1 million business from him, and it all came from a follow-up card.
I love it.
Yep. And so I'm actually going out to dinner with him and his wife. Nicole and I are going out to dinner with them. It was supposed to be tonight, but we can't make it. So
That
next
reminds
week.
me of lunch tomorrow with another client. I forgot.
There we go. When clients are taking you out, you're doing something
Absolutely.
right. You're doing something right. Well, Alicia's checking her watch.
It is about that time.
James is looking at his Oreos he's got on the table, just dying to eat them, but he can't crunch into the microphone. I keep dropping my pen. That's got to be loud in your ear. Okay, well, open houses. What other anything else? Any closing statements?
I just want to reiterate on the marketing, just make sure that you have a good marketing plan in place, whether that's just on social media, if you're doing circle prospecting on the phone, or if you're door knocking, just make sure you have a strong marketing plan in place.
There you go. And my last tip for that is get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Go live. Pull up your phone. go live in front of your open house, talk about the open house, tell them the address, 123 Main Street. I will be out here at this time. I'll be here from 9 to, or I'm sorry, no one does an open house at 9 in the morning.
Turn off the lights, the party's over.
I'll be here from 2 to 4. Come by and see me. Only if it's just to say hi, come by, have refreshments, get some cookies, get some waters, things like that. Invite everybody out, invite everybody you know out. Try to make it a big success. You're going to be there for 2 to 4 hours in the first place. Why not make it as busy as possible? There's nothing worse than an empty open house. I would rather watch paint dry than sit in an open house, especially if I don't have Wi-Fi. So anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you got some value out of today's episode. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@realestateontherocks.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Michael Harrell over at Guild Mortgage here in Austin, Texas. You can also find him on our website, realestateontherocks.com. We thank you all, and let us know if you have any questions.
Bye, y'all.
I'm out.
Bye.